Everyone, and welcome to the Nerd Ledger. We are an
The Nerd
incredibly
Ledger.
professional nerd podcast. Um, that's a joke. We're not
Yeah,
professional at all.
no,
We're your
I'm eating right
hosts.
now. I'm literally eating.
Yeah, chairs eating. I'm Cage. We talk about nerd stuff all the time. If this is your first time listening, I always say at the end to like follow and like and subscribe and stuff. And I'm pretty sure you're supposed to do that at the beginning. So yeah, do all that stuff. Write a review because
Yeah,
we've totally
smash
already
that like,
talked about everything.
smash
Um,
your like button, destroy your finger, break
yeah,
the keyboard. That way you can never unfollow us.
exactly.
Exactly.
And yeah. We are live. We are live right now on twitch.tv slash TheNerdLedger. So if you ever want to catch us live, Wednesdays 5:30 p.m. PSTs. If you can't catch us
Pacific
live,
Standard.
yeah, and you want to watch the video of us from when we were live, it's always on YouTube. The Nerd Ledger on YouTube. Duh. Uh,
Yep.
or I'm sure you found us in some way if you're listening to this. So you can follow or subscribe or whatever on all the podcasting platforms: Apple, Google Play, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon, all of them. Also, places that you can find my music. So yeah, check that out too if you're interested in some music. Immolation at Midnight, all in all those
Bard.
same platforms,
Bard.
pretty much.
It's extreme bardcore. It's awesome. Just kidding. It's not bardcore.
Extreme.
Extreme bardcore, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks everyone who's hanging out. Today we're gonna talk about a little bit of nerd news, whatever there is, and then we'll talk about Secret Invasion episodes 5 and 6. I'm sure Chair will have many interesting things to say about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there is some news. Something we talked about just before starting that Chair had mentioned was that of course the one of one ring has
The
been
Gathering. Yep.
has been sold, and its buyer is none other than Post Malone.
Yep.
Which, if you guys don't know, Post Malone is a huge nerd. He's a big fan of Magic the Gathering. He's been on some YouTube
Huge
channels playing it.
Yeah, he's a huge metalhead too.
Yeah, he actually. I don't know. I don't know the actual history and the actual truth of it, but I believe he worked with Skrillex before Skrillex was a DJ. Skrillex was part of a band called From First to Last, which was a very early pop punk kind of metalcore band. And I believe Post Malone was in some way involved in that. But yeah, so Post Malone has bought the card. The amount that he bought it for was not disclosed. The ring was said to be valued around 2 million. Who knows if he actually spent that much?
Yeah.
But yeah,
But just to point out, good for this guy that pulled this thing. Like I'm reading right here on like PC Gamer. He just says like I like what a quote from the guy who pulled the card out of the pack. It's like I played MTG since I was a kid. It would be amazing to keep the card, but for a guy like me, being able to sell it is life changing. And like hitting a million or 2 million bucks or a million and a half or whatever they settled on is like really is life changing for the guy. He could like buy a whole house, like he could buy the whole thing. The only like thing he has to pay for is like utilities and stuff, which is it's like a really big deal for a lot of people. Especially, I heard he was like working as a plumber. I think I read when I read originally, like it was somewhere in some card shop in Canada and Alberta, like kind of on the outskirts. So
yeah.
good for this guy.
I mean, not only that, he got to meet Post Malone.
Yep,
Like it's crazy enough to pull the ring, and then for someone like Post Malone to be the one to buy it is actually pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I don't know, man. This is me like being too hopeful, but like I feel like every time I go in like card shops now, like I feel like in 10 years, like MTG and Warhammer 40K is gonna start being a lot more normal. Like I think it's gonna be like a lot more in like normal culture. Like it's more and more like I don't know, not even nerds. Like it's different. Like it's on a different level. You know what I'm saying? Like Bill Gates used to say nerds, you were gonna rule the world at some point. But when I think he thinks of nerds, he doesn't really think of like Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragon playing. Like he thinks more like the computer geek style.
maybe like the thing
I'm gonna
is,
mute myself so I can stuff my face while you respond.
yeah, I think that in general, like it's hard for Magic to break completely through. Like a lot of people who have never played Magic, who aren't nerds, know what it is. So it's broken through in that way. Like if I tell people, oh yeah, I play Magic sometimes, they know what I'm talking about. But for it to be something that's like, a bunch of normies, for lack of a better term, are playing, like a bunch of like people that have no inclination or have never played card games before, like whatever. I don't think it'll reach that level. I think currently it's reached a level where it is. I mean, it is and has been the most popular card game for a long, long time. As in terms of like player base and stuff. Obviously, Pokemon transcends the card game in many ways, and so
Yeah.
Pokemon had the TV show, Yu-Gi-Oh had the TV show, so like I think everybody's familiar with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, but not everyone is familiar with Magic the Gathering. And these crossover things they're doing, like with the Lord of the Rings, and then previously with Transformers, upcoming with Doctor Who, like those will go a long way to helping break it through to new people. But until it gets like a movie or a Netflix TV series, I don't see it becoming a thing where like it's gonna be huge. Like when I go to tournaments, it's still the same people I've seen for the past 10, 15 years going.
Yeah. What I'm thinking more is kind of like League of Legends, where it's kind of like that where I'm talking about that exposure level, where like everyone generally just kind of, if you have any brief like exposure to any kind of nerd culture at all, like it's up there, like with the big dogs. I think it's one of those things is going to break through. Dungeons and Dragons has already broke through in a major way, but there could be a lot of reasons for that, and it's very empowering.
Warhammer is going to continue to break through as well with the Henry Cavill series that's being worked on. So.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be good. Fallout too. It's weird because Fallout is such a dedicated hardcore fan base, and a lot of people really like the post-apocalypse, like the idea of that theme.
Yeah, but didn't Fallout like just super fuck its consumer base too?
Well, it could be argued Bethesda was the one that did that, not Fallout.
Right, but it is also, Fallout still.
Yeah, it is Fallout. Like Fallout 76 wasn't very good, but we'll just see what happens with Starfield. Starfield's really good. Bethesda can win me back, and then I'll get the next Fallout. Hopefully, it won't be an online multiplayer shooter. That's someone I want to play when I play Fallout.
Yeah,
but I have heard you can play Fallout 76 pretty much solo now, and like it can be pretty it's pretty much a Fallout experience now. But I just don't like it's like with Warhammer 40K, like the 10th edition. It just came out in such a strange state where there's something where it feels like there was no internal testing at all. Like that's what like the general.
Bro, it's because game developers don't release finished games now. They release like demos and then sell you the rest of the game later as DLCs and shit.
Yeah.
So, but like it's not like Bethesda can't win back Fallout players either. I mean, Dota really fucked its fans with the mobile game announcement and all that shit, and now people love the new Dota, right? Not Dota, Diablo.
Diablo, yeah, but Diablo 4 was really good. But I heard that I've been, apparently like the new updates like really bad, and they adjusted a lot of things and made it a lot more pay to win, which is like a really big issue. Apparently,
that's been a thing for a long time.
Yeah, but apparently it's a lot more grievous now, and like I was just sorting through, like I'm trying to pull my life together, like I'm just trying to like cultivate a real personality here, like as a nerd. Trying to, because I kind of just drift, because like the last like 5 or 6 years, I just kind of drift between like literally every video game. We're trying to find like a good MOBA, because I really do like enjoy playing MOBAs, which is a style of, like the League of Legends top-down game, and like I don't know, man. I just so many choices out there, and like it's hard not to get pulled. Like I'm really trying to avoid those style games like with Diablo 4, where they just constantly like hit you with the pay and the pay and the pay. It's like that. It's what happened with like Pokemon. Like Pokemon, you have to get the used to be that they would release like a third game that was like a finishing walk hit chef's kiss on the first 2 games combined, right?
Yeah.
And they stopped doing that. Now they just sell DLC like everybody else, and like it sucks.
Yeah.
And Nintendo's been pretty aggressive business, and in their greedy in their like money making business practices for a long time, which is why they're so successful. Like they've been doing again, like they sell 2 Pokemon games, and then they like you can only get certain Pokemon in one game, and they're expecting people to socialize and not have kids hoard them and be kings of the playground, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. You're right. It keeps getting worse. Like, and yeah, I just don't see a way out anytime soon. Like, even the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard is going through now. So I don't know. I wonder how many of these like practices that Activision Blizzard that was engaging in that Microsoft's going to adopt, like in their own games. Like Modern Warfare, all they have is the season pass, and they keep releasing a new game. But at least a new game that Modern Warfare releases is like playable,
Yeah.
and like it has cool campaigns. Like the campaigns for Modern Warfare games are fucking badass, and it's just this is lame. But we struggle on. I'm struggling on to cultivate this real personality.
It's all right. It's all right. That it happens over time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm pretty locked in now. Like Final Fantasy 14, I play all the time. Like anime, I like MMORPGs, so it's like fit right in. And then Mech Warrior Online because I love giant mechs and load shit up in giant mechs. And that game, a lot of people actually play that game, so it's really fun. And I was just trying to find a MOBA. Like I was just playing League of Legends today, and I played like the era mode. Like it's just a different game from when I played it when I was a kid. Like it's just so wild and so crazy, and like everything's so much more fast. Or maybe I'm getting old. I don't know. But then I played a game of Dota 2, and it was like really slow paced, really tactical, really normal, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm gonna stick with Dota 2. Even though that's not the popular one, but it is what it is.
Yeah, grown-ups play Dota, children play League, yo.
Yeah, you want to play Dota 2 with me?
Oh, I've never played Dota.
You should try it sometime, bro. You definitely gotta play it. You definitely gotta play that shit on wired internet though, not on Wi-Fi.
That's a big ask. That's a big ask.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What else?
something we had spoken about previously. I ranted about fake news with the Acolyte being canceled. They had the insiders, man. The insiders knew it was being canceled. Which that news broke shortly after they announced that a transgender actor was cast. And lo and behold, there's some Acolyte news that's out there, and it's not about it being canceled. So hey, whatever. Yeah, this guy Manny Jacinto is starring in the Acolyte, and he has compared the upcoming Disney Plus series Action to the first of the Star Wars prequels, The Phantom Menace. Speaking with Entertainment Weekly, the actor noted that fans who like Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace's fight choreography and the battle between Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul will enjoy the series. He said, if you love the sequence with Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul, I think you're going to enjoy this show. I will say, too, not to shade, but we have a lot more tangible physical moves than I saw in that fight. Fellow series star Charlie Bennett noted, as badass as it is, there's a lot more grounded work that goes into our stunt training and our stunt performances. So yeah, The Acolyte is set 100 years before The Phantom Menace, at the end of the High Republic. Plot details remain scarce, but it will be a Sith-led story about a former Padawan reuniting with her Jedi Master to investigate a series of crimes, but the forces they confront are more sinister than they had ever anticipated. Yeah, so the show's still happening. Shocker.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's going to be cool-ass fight scenes.
Yeah, I think that's what really came through is that they're like it sounds the Acolyte sounds very Sith-y, so I assume that it's going to be really involved like with Sith and everything like that, and which probably implies Sith power struggles and Sith fighting each other, which is like the everyday common occurrence for those guys.
Yeah, well, also trying to remain hidden, right? Because at this point the Jedi are probably believing that they're extinct. And I'm sure with whatever plot has been out there, it sounds like some Jedi may discover the Sith, and my guess is they're all gonna die. To protect this. So, in other Star Wars news, this is making a comeback from 3 or 4 years ago. Star Wars, Donald Glover to co-write Lando's Disney Plus series. So years and years and years ago, after Solo had come out, which was 2018? Something like that? 2018, 2019? I don't know. Came out around then. I think it was 2018. Donald Glover played Lando Calrissian, and everybody's like, oh, he's great. He should get his own Disney Plus TV show. And Disney Plus said, yeah, we're going to do The Mandalorian, and we're going to do Lando. And then nothing ever really happened with it. But apparently it's still happening. So... according to Variety,
Donald better.
What's up?
More Star Wars, the better. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, no, all good, all good. According to Variety, Donald Glover and his brother Stephen Glover, or Stephen Glover, I don't know how he says his name, are attached to write Disney Plus's Lando for Lucasfilm. Previously announced Lando writer Justin Simien is seemingly no longer involved with the project, as sources say the Glover brothers are writing the show alone. The two reportedly closed a deal to pen the upcoming Star Wars series prior to the ongoing Writers Guild of America strike. Donald Glover is perhaps best known for his on-screen performances as well as for his musical performances as Childish Gambino. However, he's also a seasoned writer, having cut his teeth penning episodes of the NBC sitcom 30 Rock. Donald also created the FX comedy drama Atlanta. In addition to starring in the show, he wrote and executive produced it with brother Steven. So yeah, that's cool. That it's actually gonna be happening. In addition to that, Billy D. Williams, who originated the role of Lando Calrissian, mentioned some exciting things coming in the future. So I don't know if it was relating to that or not, but I didn't read that. So
yeah, hopefully it'll be good and awesome and entertaining and wholesome. Like I really like. I think you and I both kind of actually really like Solo. We didn't love it, but it was like an entertaining movie, and we were surprised because I think you and I both thought it was going to be like awful.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I think it'll speak more to the newer generations of Star Wars fans as well. It's not something that really gets talked about a lot. Like even for us, like people who have been Star Wars fans all our lives. I really like Rogue One, and I thought Solo was fine, and I enjoy some of the sequel trilogy. Obviously, acknowledging all the issues. But I think like the newer generation of fans like really enjoy those movies more. Like even so, my wife had never watched Star Wars until recently, and her favorites are Rogue One and Solo. Out of all of them, like out of all of them. So
I don't blame her for Rogue One. Rogue One's awesome.
Yeah.
And Solo's like really fun. I think that's the most important thing about Solo, and like it's fun because it has a lot of characters that are willing to really commit to the roles. Like everyone involved, like Woody Harrelson's freaking awesome. Is like Solo's like grim mentor that's like teaching him the ways of being like a smuggler and stuff, and all this other stuff. And Amelia Clark is Amelia Clark. She can act as Amelia Clark, and that's fine, I guess.
Yeah, people really seem to hate her acting.
She can only play herself. I don't know what else to tell you, man. Like, we'll get it. I don't know. Let's wait and see.
It's because her eyebrows are her entire personality. Okay.
I think she has a few other parts of her personality too that people really appreciate. But we'll talk about that later too.
That's more a Game of Thrones personality, though. You know what I'm saying?
Well, now people know it's out there, and they always have her tight clothes. So there you go. And that guy who played Vision, he was in Rogue One too.
Yeah, Paul Bettany.
He was in not Rogue One. He was in.
He was in.
And he was really cool with that little lightsaber freaking knife thing. It was pretty awesome. Darth Maul, the Darth Maul cameo was badass. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. I like that fight sequences and all that stuff.
Yeah. And to kind of round out the Star Wars news, Ahmed Best is back in the news. If you guys aren't familiar with Ahmed Best, he played Jar Jar Binks.
Binks, yeah.
And he was also in The Mandalorian as
rescued Grogu.
Yep, the Jedi who rescued Grogu, and he posted some honesty about the fan hate for Jar Jar Binks and the redemption he felt when he appeared on The Mandalorian. So he had an interview and pretty much said that playing Jar Jar Binks was the lowest he's ever been. It led to abuse and near death, apparently, and ultimately to saving Baby Yoda. So per The Guardian, Best addressed his Star Wars experiences on the new TED-produced podcast, The Redemption of Jar Jar Binks, hosted by Dylan Marin, created by George Lucas to appear... I don't care about that. Jar Jar Binks was divisive between late-night talk show jokes, accusations of being a racial stereotype, was websites such as JarJarSucks.com popping up, and endless death threats. Best remembers being on the verge of taking his own life one day on the Brooklyn Bridge as the result of the overwhelming public negativity.
Yikes.
He said, I'll show all of you. I'll show you what you're doing to me. And when I'm gone, then you'll feel exactly what I went through. It was terrible. It was the lowest I've been in my life. He continued by discussing his struggle to return to normalcy following The Phantom Menace's release. The actor resumed duties with the dance troupe Stomp while reprising his role as Jar Jar in a reduced capacity in 2002's Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and Episode 3's Revenge of the Sith. Best, however, struggled to leave home because of the fan hate. Eventually, he moved out to Los Angeles, which is an awful idea. Don't live there. To reset his life as a family man and a filmmaker working behind the scenes. The change in perception about Jar Jar for Best came when he appeared to a standing ovation at a Star Wars convention, which led to his casting as Jedi Knight Kelleran Beck for the children's Star Wars The Jedi Temple Challenge game show. Then Jon Favreau called and asked Best to bring the Beck character to a key episode of The Mandalorian Season 3, where the Jedi Knight saves baby Grogu in a flashback scene, which marked a turning point for the actor. He said it really felt good. As an artist, I lost my confidence for so many years, but The Mandalorian gave me that affirmation of, you were always doing the right thing, it wasn't you. Best posted the Guardian story to his Instagram in the hope of helping those who are in need of support in the darkest of times. Quote, telling the story is never easy. I've held on to it for so long, and sometimes sharing it brings me back to those challenging emotional times. The biggest reason I persist on sharing is because I realized I'm not alone. You are not alone. Thank you, The Guardian and Dylan Marin, for allowing me to share my story with all of you.
Good for him. It's hard to talk about like that kind of stuff, especially like the way he put it too. Like the way like suicidal ideation can manifest its way in your head is not like oh, I'm a terrible person, I need to die. Sometimes it can be like, I fucking hate I hate this planet, I hate everybody on it. I'm gonna show these people how much I hate them. Which is just as nefarious and just as devastating as the other type of the other kind of ways depression can manifest itself. So good for him for talking about it and being open with it and saying what it put him through. And being an actor isn't easy. I don't blame him. Like being live, all the time, just being, I don't know, people recognize. I don't know if anyone will recognize him on the street though.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me because it's like people, we act like it's the emergence of social media that made all these hateful people exist and stuff. But it's very clear that all these people existed beforehand. With examples like Jar Jar Binks, right? And the reason why I think back then even it was such a big thing is because Star Wars fans are just the worst. I don't know how else to say it. You don't see.
No, there is a way to say it. The creator of Star Wars, who could have basically made this super creative guy who was really good at movie making and had a long he was. American Graffiti was really good, but it wasn't what I call a blockbuster like what the first Star Wars movie was, right?
Right.
He knew he had the talent, but the talent was there.
Yeah.
And he took everything that he knew and everything that he had and all his money, and he just went all in on Star Wars, and he made this amazing thing. And he put in all this work and all this blood and all this sweat. He went down to frickin' South Africa, was in the desert, and screaming and yelling for 45 days or whatever, and all this other stuff. Comes back home. 20 years go by, he's made more movies, he literally has so much money, it's a money printer. That's what it is. It's a money printer they can pass off to his family.
It's an infinite money glitch.
And he decides to freaking sell it because he doesn't want to deal with it anymore because the fucking fans are insane and keep trying to firebomb his house. It's wild. People don't understand, the death threats and the direct action and the freaking young 19-year-old that's having a mental breakdown because their parents yelled at them one too many times and they finally snapped like a twig and they get in their car and says, I'm gonna freaking where's George Lucas' house? I'm gonna fucking fireball the fucking he ruined Star Wars. And then he can Google and it turns out doxers will post famous people's lives address where they live. And people show up to your house and try to murder you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's odd because you do have other fan bases, right? Like Snyder fans who would just suck dick just to shake hands with Zack Snyder. I don't know. I don't know if there's actual Star Wars fans that are that insane, to where they would do anything just to meet George Lucas or whatever. Star Wars fans have always been the way I envision it is they the best part of their lives was the original Star Wars trilogy, and anything
Yeah.
that infringes on that is like the devil, and
Yeah.
so when the sequels came out, or the prequels, oh my god, it's the worst thing ever. It shits all over George Lucas's vision, even though it's part of his vision now, and it's awful. And the what the midi-chlorians, what is this? And oh, young Anakin, oh boo, this shit sucks, man. Jar Jar Binks, that's just a racial stereotype for Jamaicans. That's fucked up, man. Like,
Yeah.
bro, people were so mad, and like,
Yeah. I kind of avoided it for a long time too until I got on the internet, and like I was on the internet pretty early, like AOL chat rooms and stuff like that. But we were just talking about like dumb kid stuff, like I wasn't really like being involved in like the fan community until I was like 11 or 12 years old. And I started googling stuff. So you back in the day on the internet, though they're still here, but not widely as used. But there's these things called forums, where you just go and talk, where you just post every day, and you start like a thread, and people respond. And yeah, dude, like every day I go check in these Star Wars fan forums, or I play a lot of a game called Star Wars Galaxies, a game I want to get you and me started on it. Now that you have like a good gaming PC, we'll get started on it, bro. I have to
a
drive up there.
good bro. I got a Ryzen 3 in my shit.
Okay, well, we're on Star Wars Galaxies because it was a MMORPG made in 2004. But I can show you Star Wars Galaxies, man. But I got to install it on your PC for you because it's like actually kind of complicated and stuff. And yeah, do you have a disk drive? That's all I need.
Nope.
No.
But I can always get one. They're not that expensive, I don't think.
Yeah, or I can bring my own up and just plug it in for you real quick and open the SATA cable. Yeah. But like every time I would go on those forums, people would just be complaining about like why would George Lucas do this? Like why would he write it like this? Why would they do it like that? Like this what I would have done it. Like I would have talked more about Luke and like this and it's like it is kind of like that. Like the way they talk about the new games too is like, oh, they're not Star Wars games. Like they're not this and that and blah 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 blah. And people hating on code, people hating on Knights of the Republic. It's just.
Well, I think
just,
the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, and just to say this real quick, but even the original Star Wars games were all attached to the original like series of Star Wars, and that's why people are super defensive of them too. Even though Jedi Academy, in some ways, is kind of shit. But like the books and stuff, it's just I don't know, man. It's wild.
I think that's the problem, right? Like the prequel trilogy suffers from the same problems in a lot of ways that the sequel trilogy suffers from, where people expected when Disney bought Star Wars that they would feed into the EU, like the extended universe, and bring all that in and base their stories off that. Which I think that those stories were being written in the early '90s and whatever as well. I think people expected that of George Lucas when he returned to make those movies in 99, 02, and 05. Like they were expecting like Dark Empire stuff or whatever, like Luke starting the Academy and shit like that. And so when they got prequels about the kid, which even though they knew they were going to get that before the movies came out at a certain point, they're like still incredibly disappointed because it's new. It's not the same. Like, instead of like.
Not what they all thought about when they were sitting around talking for 6 or 7 years about the same thing. The story builds up. It's like it's like what goes on with this QAnon stuff, right? It's just a story that got started on 4chan that just spiraled out of control, right? It's just you sit around, you talk about it for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years, for 4 years. Like the plot, it builds itself. Like in all the Star Wars fans online, like and all the Star Wars fans, basically, if you're a Star Wars fan, you're probably on the internet. Let's be honest. Favorite, yeah. So and you're sitting there for 6 or 7 years, just building it up, and then you get something that you didn't want. And it's like that with like World of Warcraft too. Like when Mist of Pandaria came out, it was completely new. It was different. Like it was separate from Cataclysm. Like it was a completely different thing. Yeah. It was like them just taking a shot in the dark, and nobody liked it, even though it was a really fun expansion. And now people like looking past on it. People really enjoyed that expansion.
Yeah,
kind of soured by the fact that you were sitting there for a year and a half on the same like patch, which is really annoying. But then mod came out.
Well, I mean, the Star Wars fans were spoiled even after the original trilogy with comic books and EU books
games.
And all this stuff and games, and then like. Maybe Star Wars fans started getting a little annoyed with George Lucas with the holiday special, with the Ewoks movies and TV series. I don't know. Like I wasn't alive when those things came out, so I don't know. all that, and even the Jar Jar Binks thing. Like I thought, after I saw Star Wars, like episode 1, like, bro, I just wanted to go home and do flips off of picnic tables and shit. I just wanted to fight like Darth Maul. I thought that shit was cool as fuck. Like, I love the movie.
I wanted to get into a pod race, strap into a pod racer, go on a fucking race, bro.
It wasn't until I was in middle school and my English teacher started talking shit about Jar Jar Binks. I was like, what the fuck? People hate Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
Nobody told me that.
When I was a kid, I thought he was kind of annoying, to be honest with you. But like, but I didn't hate him.
Sure, but even as a kid, like, I understood he was supposed to be annoying.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like a thing like where I was like, oh, he's annoying, I hate him. It was like, oh, he's supposed to be there like as comic relief, and it could annoy people,
Oh.
I don't know, but that's how I always felt about it. But I think with Star Wars fans, like they in particular are looking for something that they're familiar with. And so whenever we get something new which we should get new things that expand on the worlds and expand our understanding and our knowledge and whatever, they don't like that. They want what they know. And as soon as it's something they don't know, the people making it don't know what they're doing, even if it's the creator.
It's not even what they know, right? Because they don't know. Like, it's a secret. They're all speculating, but they want what they were expecting. I think is the most important thing. It's like they want what they were expecting,
familiar with, though, right?
Or what they were anticipating, like, what they thought the next natural step was. Like, if you just start, but if you do something completely different, they get all upset. And
yeah, but all their plot building is based off of things they're familiar with, right? So, like, as soon as it's something they're not familiar with, right? As soon as it's Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul instead of Luke and Han and Leia and Vader, then it's a problem.
Yeah.
Right. So, and yeah, same with like Rey and all those like characters as well. Like, we've spoken at great length about the sequel trilogy, but there are promising moments in some of the films. It's just, yeah.
With those films, our internal opinion, I think, always will be, is that, again, like, they weren't cohesive from film to film, and it was weird. In the last film, felt like someone did a bunch of cocaine and wrote the script. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little too on the nose.
Probably getting to Secret Invasion now.
I got two more things.
Oh.
I'll shift gears real quick. This will be quick. So Stephen Amell, if you guys don't know who that is, he played Arrow. He played Arrow in Arrow. He played Oliver Queen in Arrow. He has his own TV show called Heels. He drew some fire. He was speaking. He had an appearance at GalaxyCon in North Carolina. Fan footage captured him answering a question regarding the SAG-AFTRA strike, the writer's strike and the actor's strike. Saying that he did not support striking while still supporting the actors' union. So he said, I think it is a reductive negotiating tactic, and I find the entire thing incredibly frustrating. He also described the idea of striking in general as myopic. This prompted a firestorm of criticism from those who did not think it was possible to support SAG-AFTRA while also being against the current strike. Just to clarify, I don't care. But he clarified his stance yesterday. He released a statement to social media, and he said, all right, here we go. He said, understandably, there has been a lot of reaction to the comments I made this weekend about our strike. To ensure there is no misunderstanding about my thoughts and intentions, I'm providing what I actually said and clarify context to ensure my feelings aren't unintentionally misinterpreted. We all know sound bites can be taken out of context, and I have too much respect for my fellow union members to not clarify the record. What I actually said is, quote, I support my union. I do, and I stand with them. This doesn't need much clarity. My support is unconditional, and I stand with them. He said, the second thing, I said I do not support striking. What this means in full context, I understand fundamentally why we're here. My off-the-cuff use of the word support is clearly contradictory to my true feelings in my emphatic statement that I stand with my union. Of course, I don't like striking. Nobody does, but we have to do what we have to do. His third thing he's clarifying is he actually said, I think that it is a reductive negotiating tactic, and I find the entire thing incredibly frustrating. He said, in full context, I'm an actor, and I was speaking extemporaneously for over an hour. I emote, and I certainly don't think that these issues are simple. Our leadership has an incredibly complicated job, and I'm grateful for all they do. Despite some of my terrible early acting work, I assure you, I'm not a robot. From an intellectual perspective, I understand why we are striking, but that doesn't mean that it isn't emotionally frustrating on many levels for all involved. So yeah. Anyway, apparently he continues. Again, I don't care about all this stuff.
That seems like a very panicked offense.
Well, listen. He could be saying that he doesn't like striking, meaning like he doesn't feel like you should have to strike to get the things you need. You should just be given to those things. That could be what he means. He could mean he just doesn't like it at all. He doesn't support striking as a way to negotiate. Whatever it is, whatever he means. He has a different opinion than a lot of other people. He doesn't mean he should be hated for it. Doesn't mean anything. He can think the way he wants and be the way he is and whatever. Like, it can be frustrating. Understand that a lot of people worked really hard on a lot of projects before the strikes that are just not going to be completed, and these are passion projects for a lot of people who are also going to lose out on money, and it sucks for everybody. It does.
Yeah.
And again, we talked a lot about the writer's strike here. We talked about the actor's strike, and something I mentioned the first time we talked about it is people aren't going to understand the impact of these things until later this year. Yeah. Because you're going to get a lot of things being postponed, a lot of things being taken off of slates. Again, this has happened. Sony had a movie coming out in October called Kraven the Hunter. They released a trailer for it. It's been postponed to August 30th of next year. That's almost a full year being postponed. Yeah. The Beyond the Spider-Verse, the third movie in the Spider-Verse trilogy, meant to come out in March, pulled entirely. Nobody has any idea when that thing's coming out. But on a happy note, Sony wants you to take comfort knowing that Madam Web, which was supposed to be released on February 16th, has been moved up. It will now be released 2 days earlier on February 14th. So, take some solace in that, I guess. This will keep happening. Trust me. Things that you are anticipating coming out soon will continue to be pushed back. I wouldn't be surprised if the Marvels gets pushed back at a certain point. I know it's supposed to come out soon in November, but it can get pushed back. Secret Invasion, we'll talk about that. Sorry.
You have to remember, any post-edit, anything like that. Like, they can't reshoot anything right now. That's the most important thing. They can't reshoot a single thing with any of the characters they have. Because they literally can't do it now. And they can't use 3D AI, CGI, whatever, Chat GPT to make a soulless clone that stumble through some rubble or something like that. And it's so wild. We you're right. We did talk about this. The delay is gonna be slow. It's like a slow wave.
Yeah.
Before the main wave, the tsunami, there's a 4 or 5 little smaller big but still pretty sizable waves, and then the tsunami hits, and you're overrushed by a bunch of water, and it is it's going to be intense. Yeah. I think it's going to keep getting more intense because this is just a sign of the times. People are just frustrated generally. I just think it's going to keep getting worse.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, last thing. Last. I'm just going to read the quote. Apparently Gal Gadot has confirmed Wonder Woman 3 for the DCU. Her quote is, "I love portraying Wonder Woman. It's so close to and dear to my heart. From what I heard from James and from Peter is that we're going to develop a Wonder Woman 3 together." That could just be something they said offhandedly that meant nothing. But apparently she thinks it's going to happen. So Wonder Woman 3 coming to the DCU apparently. And speaking of the DCU, we spoke last week or the week before about A Crisis on Infinite Earths animated movie that's coming out. And I know James Gunn had talked a lot about wanting a cohesive universe across video games, movies, animation, etc., etc. And so people assumed this was going to be a part of that, and he has confirmed it is not a part of his DCU. I don't know why anybody actually thought it was. He's starting with with Superman. Everything before that is kind of irrelevant, aside from I think Squadron something, whatever, Commando thingy. Yeah. Anyway, that's gonna be an animated TV show or something. But yeah, these still DC direct to release animated movies are all their standalone things still. Anyway.
Yeah. That sucks, but like, it doesn't suck because we're gonna be getting a cool animated movie, and so far the DC animation movies are 10 times better than the DC EU movies, in my opinion. To be honest, except for the Killing Joke one, and I feel like that's because they overproduced that one way too much.
The one we saw in theaters is the worst one.
Did they actually have did Bruce and Batgirl have sex in the Killing Joke comic? Is that how that works too?
No.
Oh, so so they just put that in so they could show some tits and sex cells and everything like that?
They didn't even show any tits.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean, though. Look, she took her bra off. She took her freaking shirt off. So, it's the same thing.
I don't know. It's a weird dynamic. Like, that wouldn't fly, these days. Even, 7 years later, that wouldn't fly. People would say that Bruce groomed her,
Yeah. He kind of did in his own special way.
Hey, I'm not disagreeing. But yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird movie. Go watch The Killing Joke if you want to be disappointed. If you're like, wow, the DC animated movies are never disappointing, literally ever, because I've watched all of them. I don't think a single one of them has ever disappointed me. Has any of them disappointed you?
Some have been boring, but none have disappointed me the way The Killing Joke has. Yeah. I mean. But anyway, Secret Invasion, spoilers if you haven't watched the final 2 episodes of Secret Invasion, we're going to talk about it. So yeah, go ahead. I know you have thoughts.
Sorry, I for a second there, I thought my power died.
Fair enough.
So, yeah. So we're just okay. My thoughts about the last 2 episodes of Secret Invasion?
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
So I thought that the episode leading up to the last episode was pretty cool. Like, except for that really cringe scene where, like, Nick Fury takes his chair and, like, cocks his gun and sits in front of the president's, like, I thought that was the dumbest, cringiest thing I've ever seen in my, one of the cringiest things I've ever seen in a, like, Marvel property, anything, right?
What do you mean? He's got to protect the president.
It was so cringe. Like, you think he'd be hiding behind, like, a closet or something like that, or be, like, a stealth, or, like, climb up into the roof or something, like, cool, but he didn't do any of that.
Also, I think the director or the showrunners, they forgot that they made Nick Fury whisper in the president's ear, "Don't trust James Rhodes," because that didn't amount to fucking anything.
Yeah, so he James Rhodes shows up and he's like, "Hey, Nick Fury, I'm gonna protect the president now." And Nick Fury's like, "I know you, motherfucker. You're a fucking Skrull, fuck you."
Yeah,
and then
fuck you.
He's like, "I'm gonna release a video of you shooting Mary Hill," and then Nick Fury's like, "Damn it!"
That also happened and just got forgot about in the finale.
Yeah, he just leaves. Like, he's like, "All right, I'm gonna leave. Okay, bye." He's like, "You take care of the president," and then he leaves. And then,
that's the weird thing, bro. They released the video of Nick Fury killing Maria Hill. And everybody's hunting him and calling him like, "Bro, hey, this got released." And he's like, "Yeah, it was a Skrull." There's this international manhunt for Nick Fury, the most wanted man on planet Earth. And you know what happens? Fucking nothing. They don't even bring it up in the final episode.
Yeah. And so he's like, and then meanwhile, like, Rhodey gets called by the frickin' Skrull psycho commando guy who's just fucking like, the writers are like, "Oh, hey guys, you're gonna have like a psycho break for some reason." He's like, "Okay." So Rhodey's like, "What's up, Mr. Psycho Guy?" He's like, "Hey, you need to make it look like the Russians and the Skrulls are working together." And then he goes like, "Why?" And he's like, "Because I fucking told you to, you fucking piece of shit. You better fucking do it. I'm gonna murder you and your family and everybody you know I love." And then he hangs up. He's like, "All right, I was gonna do that." And then, like, dude, Rhodey's sitting there trying to convince
revolt.
Dude, Rhodey's sitting there trying to convince the fucking president that it's like a false flag attack is some of the worst acting I've ever seen.
He's probably so bored doing that shit.
Yeah, he's like, "Dude, this is the dumbest cringe." Like, I think
he's like, "Mr. President, it's clearly the fucking Russians. Just bomb their bitch ass."
Yeah, look at this facility, Mr. President. This is where the Skrulls are. drop the nuke, Mr. President, drop the nuke.
Yeah.
So Nick Fury's like, well, I'm gonna go fucking beat up the Skrulls, and then then Nick Fury goes off and he like goes to some cemetery. He meets some British lady.
Well, Gravik calls him.
That's right.
He's like, oi, Nick Fury, you have something I need. It's the
He
DNA for
doesn't
the
sound like
Avengers.
he doesn't sound like that. You can't. He doesn't sound like that at all.
Well, he has a very thick London accent. Okay.
It's not thick. He's just angry. Like he's just so angry all the time. Like
Nick Fury.
He doesn't sound like that at all. He didn't. No, he's not even close.
Hey Fury, yo.
No. We're gonna get taken down. You're gonna get. I don't know if there's like the opposite of being knighted by the queen, like where you've been like dethroned, like they casted down by the king or whatever. Like shit.
Bro, they got no power here. Okay.
Yeah,
they have no. We won the Revolutionary War. Thank you, French, for helping us.
I don't know. I don't know about that one. He'll still be here, man.
England has no power here. Okay.
Hiding among the shadows.
Yeah.
Anyway, he goes
oi,
he's like,
oi, Nick Fury.
So fake accent aside, please ignore Cage. He's just off his rocker today. Apparently, he's more high than I am. So the Skrull Commander guy, he like walks into here. He's like, I'm gonna cause World War III, and we're gonna kill all of the humans, and we're gonna blow up the Earth for the Skrulls. And everyone's like, yo, I do not agree with that. I think you're a little unhinged, bro. And then he's like, oh!
He's like, I'm unhinged.
Yeah,
I'm unhinged.
He just starts screaming at everybody, dude. It's like his voice must have been so tired after recording all this. And so they try to ambush him. And like they throw a platinum. This dude already has like all of the superpowers and then some. So they put a plastic bag over his head or something. I thought that, okay, maybe all the Skrulls are gonna divide up superpowers amongst themselves, or maybe they're gonna release War Machine and his suit will be somewhere on the premises and he'll go super badass fight mode and he'll fucking kill everybody. And that doesn't happen.
No, they read on the plastic bag where it says, "Do not put over your head, you may suffocate." They're like, bro, that sounds surefire to me.
Yeah, that's gonna kill the Super Skrull.
They don't
exactly.
just put that warning on there if it wouldn't actually kill you immediately.
So they put the frickin' bag over this dude's head. They try to hit him with hammers and stuff, and then he just beats the hell out of all of them. Yeah. And then he just starts murdering people. And then it cuts to Nick Fury, going into some crypt after meeting with his British girlfriend or whatever her name is. And then
she just works for MI6 or some shit.
Yeah. So they go in there and he gets into this tomb and he gets all his gear, bro. He gears up. He gets his geared up scene, bro. He loads up his trench coat, his single fucking pistol.
Oh yeah, he hid one pistol in somebody's grave.
Yeah. A single loaded pistol.
In folded clothing.
And an eye patch.
An eye patch.
Yeah. And then he heads off to go fuck up the Skrulls. And then we go to the next scene. Some stuff happens. Some people talk to each other. It's just the whole thing falls apart. It literally all starts falling apart as a show. It just turns into the most it's 24. But it's the last hour. You ever watched 24 before?
Yeah, I love 24.
Yeah, I did too. It's fantastic. I love that concept, right? It's 24 episodes. This takes place from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. That's a really awesome way to tell a story, right? I actually think it's kind of badass. And it's the final episode of 24 is Mr. President, nukes are coming, yes. And then it cuts away, and there's some badass fight sequence going on on top of a cargo ship, Jack Bauer, the Chinese need to sell the meth. And he's like, I'm not gonna let you sell meth. I'm Jack Bauer, bitch. And he tackles someone off, and he beats someone with a phone.
Yeah, somehow they always capture his daughter or girlfriend.
Usually the president's daughter or girlfriend is usually what happens most of the time, and they drop off the single FBI.
But Jack Bauer's daughter is always getting herself into trouble too.
That's besides the point. What I'm saying is this episode is this dude, the Skrull who's impersonating War Machine, is trying to convince the fucking president to nuke Russia, and it's just that scene is where it's all falling apart. Like Mr. He's basically he's just like
Yeah.
sorry.
And Nick Fury, he shows up.
He's just sitting there banging his head on the hospital bed of like the president is like nuke the Russians, nuke the Russians, nuke the Russians, nuke the Russians. And the admiral's like, Mr. President, you shouldn't nuke the Russians. And the president's like, I don't know about that, damn dude.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so stupid. And then,
look, I will introduce a different perspective.
okay.
I still enjoyed the series.
Yeah,
I feel like episode
this is about the last episode though. This is about the series as a whole, right? And you know me, like I look at the whole thing like as you know, I like the whole thing series, but this is specifically about the last episode
the
and
last
the many
episode
sins that it
felt
cannot escape
incredibly
from.
rushed and all over the place. I'll give you that.
And you watch the CGI.
I thought it looked fine.
You watched it on your little phone, right? Did you ever go back and watch it on a full, 30?
My phone isn't that little. Look at this.
I had a full couple.
I'm watching us. I'm one of our only 2 viewers.
I had a couple, 38, 39, 40-inch TV in my room, like, theater speaking. Like, dude, it looked really fucking bad.
Maybe your TV just sucks.
What I can see, the separate pieces, like, I noticed is like, wow, that's some of the worst CGI I've ever seen is when that water tower fell over, and I can see, like, the individual chunks of the cement, like, bounce, like, and then just clunk, and then, like, fall through themselves.
Yeah,
like,
I don't
dude,
remember the water tower thing.
Oh my god! So basically, what happens is that you think it's Nick Fury sneaking onto the scroll premises, and he's like fucking dying from radiation poisoning, which is like a plot point that I missed. Like that there was like the area was like irradiated. Oh, also apparently he didn't kill everybody because there's still these scroll guards sitting at the entrance to the scroll compound. And
yeah. Also, I didn't get that plot point either. I was like, oh well.
Dude, there's so many
sense.
things there's so many things they throw into your face that they never explain. Like,
yeah,
that's
it makes
the one
sense
thing I don't like about the
the
series.
scrolls aren't susceptible to the radiation, and that's why people don't live there because it's abandoned because there's radiation. So it makes sense. Okay, they can live there, but that's never explained within the show.
Yeah.
And so like Nick Fury just starts coughing and taking these pills, and you're like, yo, did you get sick all of a sudden? Like, what the fuck happened?
Exactly. It was like, why is he taking pills? Did he get poisoned? Like, what's going on?
Right.
But anyway, it doesn't matter because it turns out that it's not Nick Fury. It's Emilia Clarke being Emilia Clarke. They give her like a different name or whatever, but she's still Emilia Clarke.
Her name is Gaia.
Gaia, whatever. And like then she gets super scrolled up, and then like the other.
They both get super scrolled up.
So what happens is like they're fighting, and like Nick Fury's pretending to be all sick and stuff, and then they fall into like the machine, right? And like they fall into the scroll. They get the machine that gives the scrolls superpowers.
Right.
And like the machine gets turned on, and they both get like he thinks he's gonna kill Nick Fury or something, or won't work on him or whatever.
It would kill him, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, he thought it would kill Nick Fury, but it's not Nick Fury. It's Gaia, and Nick Fury is out there with the president. He's with the president, right? Like he just shows up.
Rhodey, there's a scroll.
Exactly that whole scene is when they're sitting there pointing their guns at each other, like, Mr. President, stop the nuclear strike, Mr. President. They're like pointing their guns like back and forth. It's just the dumbest fucking thing, bro.
It's just like, I'm not a scroll. I'm not a scroll, guys.
And you think Nick Fury would just? Why do they need to spare the scroll that's Rhodey? Why don't they just shoot him?
Yeah.
They've been willing to kill other scrolls, so why don't they kill that one? That's what I don't understand.
I mean, they did eventually, but not until he tried to kill them.
Why did it take that long? That's the thing. It was like, I'm not a scroll. The fuck you are. And then he shoots him in the head, and then Mr. President looks at the scroll, call up the freaking nuclear tactical command, and tell them to turn off the strike. And it was just, dude, whatever. So that's going on. They step out of the machine, the super juicer, that turns them in, like, and then the crazy general guy's been like, he's all buff now, right? And then it turns out like that he fucking punts Nick Fury into a wall. I was like, okay, like what the fuck's going on? That would have killed Nick Fury if he was a regular human.
Yeah.
And then like he catches his punch, and then like it turns out that it's Emilia Clarke. And then they have like the worst CGI I've ever seen in my entire life. Like I cannot believe this one part.
But the feels like CGI looked good, right?
It feels like something. It feels like something I would see on like the CW. That's all I need to tell you.
Okay, but some of the CW CGI was pretty decent for its budget.
Yeah, it was like when it counted, but sometimes like it was really bad in print. Like it was like in those in this fight. And the Super Scroll looked okay until he started moving around, and then it was just really weird looking. Like, yeah, and it's really weird because Amelia Clark, like, she kept all like, the other guy, like, he was a Scroll, right? Because what the machine did to him, like, his shirt ripped off, like, he was a Scroll. And Amelia Clark was just in her human form for some reason, not scrolled up.
Because if she was scrolled up, how would you tell the difference between who's?
Because one of them has tits and the other doesn't.
Yeah, but our
anyway,
really,
Anyway, so they get into this dumb fight, and the thing is, like, obviously the Captain Marvel powers are the best, so why don't they start using those right off the bat, and then they wait till the end to start Captain Marveling each other, and then they just
because they got the powers of the Black Order as well. They got Ebony Maw and Cole Obsidian and stuff. They got all those powers too, and Extremis, so they can heal.
I didn't know all that stuff, but
I mean, a bunch of the names ran across the screen. I don't know. I think I think a lot of people have a problem with this because Super Scroll in Marvel
I'm gonna mute myself real quick.
Yeah, Super Scroll in Marvel Comics had 4 powers, the powers of the Fantastic Four, and so they gave Gaia and Gravik a bunch of like at least 30 superheroes' powers. Which I think, I don't know if this will be a problem down the line. I mean, I don't imagine Amelia Clark is going to show up in a bunch of movies as the new villain Super Skrull with all these powers, because let's be honest, like, she has the powers of Captain Marvel, who's arguably the most powerful superhero in the MCU, but she also has everybody else's powers too, and she can heal. So... she's now
the most powerful person in the MCU right now.
So unless these powers wane over time, take some kind of toll on the user over time to like weaken them, I think it could potentially be a problem. Or maybe they just fade entirely over time. Or maybe Amelia Clark becomes the Skrull overlord on another planet and starts abusing her powers that way. I don't fucking know.
Same. Nobody knows. That's the thing. That's like at this whole series. Like, what was this series like about? Like, what was
and also, where do we go from here, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think you and I probably have to do a different episode on this because we're getting pretty close to an hour here, and I'm kind of running on E this week already.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. But what did this series accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, other than being its own, like,
having a little Nick Fury side quest where what we don't know anything about that ship that he was going off to with his wife. Like, it was all like we didn't. What was the point? What was the point?
I mean, I like all this stuff with Nick Fury and his wife, but you could have easily just integrated that into a movie somewhere,
That's the thing that it feels like. It feels like this movie should have been the introduction, or like the movie that came out before, like, the Marvels. That's what I feel like. And it, I don't know. I just didn't like it. A lot of, like, the series, like, a few of the episodes are fun and entertaining and cool, and the action's badass. But that's like, as for like the story, I'm not really 100% sold on that. Did you just die?
No, I didn't die. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I thought you
were. I know. Yeah. Also at the end, MI6 lady recruits Gaia. And,
so now the UK is. You said the UK was useless, so now they have the most powerful superhero in the MCU. Look at that, bro. They're gonna send Gaia on him after you do that.
They're gonna do shit.
They're gonna send Gaia after you go.
Hello, Gaia. I am here to use you. I don't give a fuck about ya.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Gaia
honestly,
like,
that lady probably has the most personality of anyone in the entire show, to be honest.
Yeah, she did have quite a big personality.
She's like so quintessentially British, like it hurts, and like, she's able to deliver her lines in a very snappy, awesome way that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, she is the definition of a trope.
Yeah, for sure.
So, like, but overall, I mean, like, I didn't even dislike the final episode. I did feel like it was kind of all over the place, a little bit rushed, and just like, it felt like things were happening, but with no rhyme or reason to them.
Exactly, and that's to me like what comes down to is, again, like, what did this show accomplish?
Yeah, like
nothing. Like, yeah, you're looking down.
Like there's no, like, it feels like there's no creativity in the like small parts, right? Like,
yeah,
like when you're first doing things, like first making things, at least for me, like there are little things you want to do to stand out, little like, and these things are present in a lot of like early Marvel or like a lot of Star Wars, movies like Indiana Jones and stuff. Like there's little like just really cool things that happen, right? Like little pieces of creativity in either the writing, the action, whatever, like little things that stick with you. And it felt like there wasn't really that here. And really in any recent media of like these big
even She-Hulk had
projects.
better, more cohesive writing than this. Like it really did. Like it was more of a story. Like it ended up breaking the fourth wall at the end, which is something you should never do unless like if you don't take your work seriously. But just is what it is. Like and it was like She-Hulk was more. I was more personally entertained by She-Hulk than I was by this show. That's a better way to put it. Like I'm glad that I don't have to force myself to watch it anymore before the podcast. So I don't have to watch it anymore.
But you know what we do have starting in 3 weeks.
Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Can't wait. Yep. I can't wait. I'm gonna be in my bed and I'm gonna turn on that series and it's gonna how they introduce it is gonna be like, And then we got the Dave Filoni movie coming out in a couple of years. Not anytime soon now, actually.
Probably never.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pumped for Ahsoka. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be good and not disappointing and make you and I just sit here bitching moan for 10 or so hours.
Bro, I'm telling you, Star Wars fans are fucking unhinged. I read some shit. I read comment sections. I don't ever reply, but I was reading some unhinged shit. People just mad hating Sabine Wren. I don't get it. Just like everybody piling on like crazy, like she's perfect. She's a Mary Sue.
She wasn't like my favorite character in the Rebels series, but I didn't like. There's no characters in Rebels that I hated. Like Rebels wasn't my favorite series because it felt like a little bit more cartoonish and animated than the Clone Wars. Yeah, my sister really liked Rebels too, but I didn't watch the other one, Resistance. Did you watch that one?
I didn't like the animation style, so I never watched it. Same. I've watched some of like the Galaxy of Heroes like YouTube shorts though.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm still going through Visions, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel as inspired as last time. Like the claymation stuff, the claymation stuff was really cool, and that's about it.
One of my favorite ones was the robot kid, Toby.
Yeah, I'll need to maybe I'll finish that tonight.
Yeah, but that was from season 1, the robot kid.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
The rock and roll. Is that the rock and roll one?
No, his dad was like a Jedi, but he didn't like the maker, his maker. And he's like a robot, and then like these evil guys came to the planet and like killed his dad, or like maker, and like whatever. And like he had dreams of like being a Jedi, but he's a robot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll need to rewatch that one. So
yeah. Anyway, thanks everybody for hanging out, for listening to us. Rate, review, follow, subscribe, like, click buttons, do things. We love you or hate you. We don't know you. You don't know us, but whatever. Much love. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.